Good afternoon. My name is Monique Robinson. I am the proud founder of A Better Chance for You Futures Incorporated. Today, our distinguished guest is Dr. Sonia Cunningham Leverette. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
And and she is just an amazing author, publisher, like everything under the sun. And she is truly a blessing if you just know her story. And without further ado, I would love for her to just go ahead and share her story before we get into our talk.
Awesome. Well, good evening. I am so blessed and honored to be here with Monique Robinson with A Better Chance Youth Futures. And so my story started way back when I was probably 4 or 5, when I loved writing, drawing. I loved in the old Refco stores, they're now CVS, anything that had to do with school. So I learned how to read very early because my sisters were older and they were able to read. And when I got to about 3rd grade, I wasn't reading so fast. And what finally sped up my fluency was when I really found books that I enjoyed and loved. So that has always, as an English teacher and now as an author, as a publisher, my goal is to give children books that are of high interest, because I know that was the turning point for me. So I taught English for 11 years, and then I became an administrator at the school level and then on the district level. I retired a couple of years ago, and so publishing is what I do full time now. I enjoy getting back into schools, doing author visits and going to daycares, camps, predominantly children, but I do speak with adult groups as well. And so at this point, I've helped over 40 other authors publish their books, and I've written 5 children's books, 2 short stories, getting ready to publish a couple of other short stories, but I did help write my dad's biography. And I think that's it. But I have submitted a couple of other middle level books for publication as well. And that's kind of, who I am and what I do.
Wow. I also I have a favorite book of yours. It's The Bulldogs. I can't really recall the whole title, but I love that is my favorite. Yes. I love that book. Like before we became live today, that was something that I shared with you. It was like I'm a teacher at heart, and I also promote HBCUs at any chance. That right there, I was like, I love this. I like the illustrations, and you can get really excited in reading it.
Thank you.
Especially around the time of homecoming, when you're trying to explain to your scholars, like that is a family reunion like no other.
Yes, definitely. And I'm in all of those schools who get to actually have homecoming this year, because I know that South Carolina State University, it is next weekend, but it is virtual. So, and I would like to shout out all of the other authors who have written books about historically Black colleges and universities, because I had no idea there were that many, but I recently compiled a slideshow of all of the book covers. And there are a number, but there are still a number. There are too many universities and colleges that don't have books. So I challenge those schools. Surely there's one person in the alumni who can write that book for that school. We should have all of them represented.
Yes, that might be a push. I know Wilberforce has several authors. That might be a push for them. And I know they usually watch on Sundays. So if you're listening or watching and you graduated from Wilberforce, a challenge has been made. I'm not an author, but I could write a book about Wilberforce. But the challenge has been made. So therefore, that's out there. How did you get to write a book about your school? Like, how did that become of an idea that is now in the print?
At the time when the idea came to me, the University of South Carolina had 2 former football players who wrote their book. It's called #Just a Chicken. And I knew that Clemson also had 2 children's books. And because I graduated from Clemson, but I also graduated from South Carolina State University, I said, that is a whole, that's something that is needed. And so I decided to, write the book for the university. And so it does have the official, it is an official product of the university. That requires a good bit of legal action and going back and forth with the university. And so that wasn't something I felt comfortable taking on myself. I wanted to go with a publisher who does that all the time. And it's a lengthy process. And so I think ours started maybe in March, and it wasn't finalized until late June or maybe July. And so Mascot Publishing, they were very helpful with gaining that official licensing for me.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's good that you said that it takes time. And I know I can't stress this enough, because me working with young people, they think things happen overnight. They do. And no matter how hard I push, I invite people on here to tell them, like, it's a process.
It is. And let me just talk about that timeline. So I started penning the book in September, and I finalized it maybe by December. I found an illustrator in January. The illustrations were done in probably 6 weeks, which is a quick turnaround for a children's book, because it could take up to 6 months. Wow. And so starting with the publisher in January, the book was released in September. So, and to be honest, that has been the lengthiest time that I've spent, because I worked with another publisher back with the first two short stories that I published, but then the books that I've published, the turnaround has been quicker. So you'll see a quicker turnaround with self-published works versus traditionally published works. But I encourage anyone to really take your time, make sure the editing is really, really there. Wow. And it can't be something that's just, put out haphazardly. It has to be, professional, because you don't want it to just reek of self-publishing. And when self-publishing first began, it didn't have a great reputation because of that. And so many people were just putting things out there that, no publisher would touch. But I encourage anyone who wants to write and to publish, but just make sure that your works go through all of the processes that it needs to go through.
Right. That is extremely important. I mean, because I'm just going to be honest, a lot of people like to cut corners because they think that right may be better. I also noticed that that you have your own publishing.
Yes, I do. Hadassah's Crown Publishing was founded in 2016 in March. After I published the first 2 short stories, I knew that this was something that I was in love with and I wanted to continue doing. And so, yes, I decided, this is something I can help other people with, because I was blessed. The first author or publisher that I worked with, she pretty much held our hands and helped us through each part of the process. And then she even helped us upload our short stories so that we could market them ourselves on Amazon. And like I said, I just loved everything about it, the creative process, because that as a teacher, you can use some of your creative juice, but for the most part, you have to stay on that left brain side. I mean, it's like by the clock. Everything is just meticulous. It has to line up this way. And then your creative juices are just they're squashed. I mean, they can't come out. And so that's what's been so important to me, and what's been so fun about it, the creative part of it. That's what I truly, truly, truly love.
Yes, you have a book, and I didn't get to get it, but the title itself is Something Smells or something. And I laughed so hard. I was like, oh my God, yes. How did you come up with the idea for that book? Like that right there, I was like, is she an elementary teacher at heart? Because that was so funny to me that I know kids would love that book. Like I have 2 nephews that will probably get a kick out of just the title.
Wow. Well, and I know that children, when it comes to things that stink, they like that, makes them giggle. But I mean, I'm just as honest as I can be. And I even said it to a child last weekend at a book signing. She had recreated the cover. She drew her own cover, and I put it on social media because she did such a good job. And she was really surprised. She looked at me a certain kind of way when I told her, well, the little girl in the story, that was actually me. Children are amazed that I'm willing to admit that I was that dumb. Because at 5 years old, I mean, I didn't know that if I put my boiled eggs from the Easter egg hunt in my closet, they wouldn't last until I guess, that manipulative and that competitive, that I felt I could win the next year because I have a head start. So yeah, I was truly going to save them in my closet. And so my mom, after a month or so, started coming in. What is that smell? And then come back the next night. What is that smell? So finally, I had my sisters take the closet apart, and they were completely rotted.
Oh my goodness.
Good opportunity to teach children about food safety and do's and don'ts and all of that, but to give them a good laugh. And then the story has a nice little twist where not only did I learn something important at the end, but the entire family used it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, that would be a valuable lesson, right? Especially if COVID is still around and Easter eggs have to be like in the house.
That's true. But I do hear of stories of children trying to keep a chicken nugget under their bed until, like, the next day or the next day when they're hungry. No. And they have to learn that, no, that's not a good idea.
No, that is definitely not. I can imagine, because I seen that title and I didn't read that one because I was so intrigued about the Bulldogs book.
So
I didn't, but I kept looking at the title like I need to go on Amazon and order that. It has to be a story behind that book. And then I also noticed while doing my homework, because anybody I bring on here, I always do homework, that you've won some awards for your books.
Well, I have. So to Be a Bulldog is a reader's favorite 5-star book. BJ's Big Dream, which was my first children's book, it is an Amazon bestseller, and it is also a reader's favorite. And so then my church that I attended before my husband became a pastor about 4 years ago, I was one of the women entrepreneurs for coming up with the idea of the publishing company. And then the women's missionary for the entire Greenville area of the AME church recognized me for entrepreneurship. So, and in the short time that I've been working on the books, I'm just humbled and honored by the recognition. So
that is truly a blessing. I didn't know it was that many. I just seen one. You're like, wait a minute, this is all of the stuff that is amazing.
Thank you so much.
And like I said, I was like, she has a whole bunch of books. And how can people go about getting them? I know that you have several on Amazon. That's where I got some of mine at. But where, if they were interested, where would they go?
My books are located or are in a bookstore on my website, hadassahscrownpublishing.com. And then most of them are also on Barnes and Noble as well as Amazon. And if you search any of the titles, which you did a great job in that video of putting all of the titles, but if you put any of the titles, you can shop and get a competitive price, because Google Books, and I've noticed some of them on Walmart, Target may carry some here and there. So they're out there. I'm blessed by that. So there are multiple ways to purchase them.
Okay. So if you don't mind, and I know I'm really biased, really biased, could you read to us an excerpt or a couple pages from my favorite book?
I have it right here for you.
Thank you.
Right. So this is To Be a Bulldog, which was published back in September of 2018. And it is about South Carolina State University, which is the only public historically Black college and university in the state of South Carolina. Wow. And it starts out with the little boy and his dad in the car on the way. They're pulling onto the campus. And it was one special fall day, Dad and Caden drove through the gate. It was Caden's first time celebrating homecoming at SC State. And I'm going to flip over to a part that I like. I'm going to skip some things. Dad and Caden went to Oliver C. Dawson Stadium where the team was warming up. Everyone was happy and smiling, swallowing tailgate food in big gulps. The crowd rose as they did the wave and cheerleaders yelled through megaphones. Suddenly, an airman landed on the field. In his hand, an American flag was proudly flown. Fans went wild as they applauded for the soldiers and their amazing show. How had that airman pulled his stunt? Everybody wanted to know. The stadium was full as pom-poms punched the air. Standing room only, not one seat was bare. The dancers pranced back and forth as did the homecoming court. Then everyone bowed their heads, asking that no player be hurt. Eddie Moe shook hard and rocked, wowing the crowd on both knees. The band backed him up by blaring out. And so I have to stop right there because Eddie Moe was a legend at South Carolina State University. And I think most schools have that legend that's at every game. They are a diehard fan. And sometimes the band would allow him to be like, not the grand marshal, but the
drum major.
Drum major, exactly. And he was tragically taken a few years back, so I could not pen the book without giving him a shout out. And then Pass the Peas is the James Brown song from way back. It was James Brown and the JBs that did a jazz rendition back in, I think, the 60s, and the band plays that a lot. That is like their signature song. So anyone who goes to the campus or has attended the school knows Pass the Peas. And so those are specific to the school. And so I have to explain that to children so that they kind of understand. But I wanted to put some of the flavor of the university in there.
Wow. Well, I just learned something new myself. Everybody has like a signature chant, a signature song. And I always heard it, but I didn't know the history of it. So I learned something new today.
Yes.
So as we're going into like a homecoming season, and some schools are doing it virtually, some schools are having little tailgate parties. I know yesterday Central State, which is our sister school directly across the street from Wilberforce, they had a tailgate yesterday. And I would look, homecoming is a little different because for us, it's always like a family reunion. Like, what do you feel about that for this year? Like, do you feel that we need to be on the yard, or you think we need to do our safety precautions so we can make it to next year's homecoming?
I'm all in favor of safety precautions because when you consider historically Black colleges and universities and how the minority populations are being impacted by COVID, I don't feel that a tradition or a football game or anything is worth losing individuals. And South Carolina State University, like many schools, I'm sure, have a close-knit community. And unfortunately, in some of the chat threads that come through, I often see, we've been averaging possibly 2 to 3 lives lost a month, which it was spread out a little more before the pandemic. And so that's just not something you want to see. So I truly am fine with, and I know I'm just speaking for me, but I would rather be safe than sorry. So I know that people can safely get together in small groups and still, join in the festivities. I know that there are going to be some the step show. I have my ticket. I'm signed up for that. There's going to be like a DJ spin-off, old school versus new school. Looking forward to that. And there's some other events. There's a 5K race, virtual race. So, you can still kind of get that feel from far away. But, I'm a proponent of safety.
No, I truly get it. It's hard for me because I'm naturally, I like to be around people at times. And then as we're going into the different seasons, it's like, wait a minute, I can't do what we used to. Like that. Just So like even as you're, and I know you're retired now, so and
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about being creative with getting your book readings and things like that. Do you have any plans or doing virtual readings or virtual workshops to where you can help like aspiring authors or aspiring people who want to have a publishing company such as yourself?
Yes, I began doing online coaching back in the spring, and I had several people to come through who are actually working. We're working together. They are still self-publishing, but I'm helping them. And so I will probably be gearing up to do something else like that maybe in the spring. I have enough publishing projects right now to keep me busy, but I often get phone calls from aspiring authors or someone who's out there self-publishing. I know you've done this. How do I do this? How do I do that? I honestly enjoy helping people. And so I try to guide them and point them in the right direction to do that. And also, there may be some opportunities coming up in the very near future to do some virtual readings inside of some classrooms. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, because I just have not seen enough children's faces
Oh, wow.
this semester at this point. And I really lift the schools and the staff members in my prayers, because I can only imagine, I'm on the outside looking in, what it's like. But the Google Meets that I've had online and trying to maintain order, even with adults, it's difficult. It really is. And so I know the stress
Yeah.
of being in a school setting. And now that there's the, added stress of the pandemic, it makes it, I'm sure, very difficult. So I'm very sensitive to that. But when the opportunity knocks for, me to be there virtually, I will certainly be there.
That's awesome. Um, what if you could tell a student like, and I know you're a seasoned educator. I don't want to say you're a
Yes.
seasoned educator. I'm still growing. They may call me seasoned, but I mean I'm not nearly like not where you are. If you could tell like a young person that is wanting to take the steps that you have taken to get to success, because I'm like, goodness, you don't really know too many African American publishers. you know, that's it.
Mhm.
If they wanted to get to where you are, what is the best advice that you could give them? Like, look, this is what you need to do.
Mhm. First of all, you need to be passionate about it. And I'll speak about that for just a moment, because I just remember I was blessed to be on the cabinet in two different districts before I retired. And
Wow.
the superintendents that I worked for, and there are three that I'm thinking about, they all had a passion for playing golf. And so when we would come back to our cabinet meetings on Monday morning, they talk about their golf games and how they were looking forward forward to the next weekend. And I never had a pastime. My most of my years, my latter years, were running behind my son, who played AAU, like all over the
Oh, I
city,
know
and
that's
basketball games and his football games. And so when he went to school, or I was panicking when he was getting ready to leave, because I'm like, what will I do with that time? I will be lost, because I'm the kind of person, I can't sit idly. I have to be on the move. I have to be doing something. And I prayed about it and I prayed about it. And it was like not until the very end that God truly showed me and gave me this gift, because I published my first short story in 2015. I
wow.
published another short story in 2016. And then that was when I published BJ's Big Dream. And it just kept going and kept going. And then I decided I want to give this gift to other people, as I mentioned earlier. But whatever it is that you do, it has to be your passion, because this job requires 15, 16, 17 hours a day. And I've had to make frequent trips to my eye doctor, because my eyes are more mature now. And it used to be that I would labor long hours grading English papers, but you have to really love it to be that glued to it and to enjoy it.
Wow.
So if you don't absolutely love and adore reading and writing and editing, those are the biggest parts of it, of course. But then there's the marketing, and there's the meeting the authors, and they're helping people, taking them from where they are. And people disagree with me on this, but you don't have to be an English teacher or an English major for me to feel that you can actually write a book. You know, there are testimonials, and that's what I get a lot of. I get a lot of like devotionals. These are people truly giving to other people their story so that people can learn from it, but then others helping people get to a higher spiritual level through their devotionals. You know, these may not be the classics that some people think, you know, literature is all about, but there are just so many different types of genres, so many different types of books. And I do want the book, the manuscript, to be in a certain place when I receive it. I don't want every word misspelled and, you know, just, you know, everything just all kind of jacked up. But sometimes there are testimonies that are so deep and so very powerful, they really need to be shared. And so you have to have a gift of really wanting to help people meet them where they are. And so I think the English teacher in me really, you know, helps with and speaks to that. So anyone wanting to be a publisher, I would definitely talk with them about the long hours and the commitment to really, really serving behind closed doors. You know, you're not out and about and, you know, working with a lot of people. I have a very, 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 you know, small team that kind of supports me when I need something, you know, looked over, or people that I can shoot it to sometimes when I'm really in a rut, to help me with different parts of it. But I would just say, don't despise humble beginnings. You know, you start small and then just, you know, bite a little bit more off every single day, and always be willing to learn. There are some people who've been in the business for a long time. I've spent many hours with some of those people so that I could learn as much as I could. But I'm always YouTubing and listening to other authors just speak about their experiences, as well as publishers, because any industry has trends and fads and new things. You know, there are things that are new that you know, have just come out in the last few months. So you have to be able to keep up so that the books that you put out are going to be competitive with, you know, what's coming out from traditional publishers.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said something in your response that really resonated with things that I see our young people go through. And you said, have a successful team.
Hmm.
And I really think it's important to express to our young folks relationships, teams, have a strong circle.
Yeah.
How do you feel that that assisted you with success?
I had to realize that I don't know everything. For example, one skill that I wish I had more of is graphic design.
Wow.
So, you know, there are times when I have to send the cover over to somebody else so that they can put their touches on it, because that's not something I've ever studied in school. And just because you can look at covers and say, oh, wow, that's beautiful, that doesn't mean that you can design it. And so sometimes, though, with the setup and the format, there may be something new that I'm challenged to do or being asked to do. And I may spend hours trying to do it. And eventually I'll just give up and say, look, you know, I got to get some help with this. And honestly, my team is around the world. I have someone in Nigeria who does a lot of formatting and different things of that nature, has laid out many covers for me. And so the great thing is he's there whenever I call, and he always does amazing and exceptional work. So it is very important to have people that you can call on who are punctual, who are professional, and they are hardworking. They're very responsive. So yes, you can't do anything all by yourself. You have to have a support system, and you have to have a team.
Yes, you said support system.
Yes, yes.
That to me is really important. How has your support system helped you this far?
My support system has been awesome because my family, anything that I want them to help me with, for example, my sisters have accompanied me on author visits, or author or signings when it's been, several hours away and my husband's tied up. My husband goes on the weekends when he can, and my son has also been very helpful. My parents, anybody in my family that I've called on, what do you need? Just let us know. Just let us know. So that is very important. And they see my passion and they've been very supportive because sometimes, I started working very early in life and it's still difficult for me to every day realize, well, this is your job. You're at home working. It's a complete shift, and then with the pandemic and kind of being in one place most of the time, that's a shift. So every now and then I'll get online and I'll just start looking for jobs just because it's like, if I'm waiting on a number of authors to respond to me and I have a little bit of downtime, like I said, I'm one of those, I have to stay busy. So I'll start looking for a job and my family, they'll remind me, you have a job, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You've articulated it enough. We've seen it enough. So just sit down, just sit down somewhere and stop thinking that you need to be in a school or in a factory or somewhere working because, this is truly your job. And I feel that, it's been very rewarding. No need has gone unmet. But what I enjoy most of all is that it's a ministry and that I'm able to give to and bless other people as a result of it.
Yes, and like I mentioned earlier, the books and even the titles have blessed me because it's like, wow, I didn't think about this,
Oh,
you know.
thank you.
So like I do hear you mention that you have a strong sense of religion, and which is really important. It's important to me. um how do you get the ideas for like your books? Do you pray about it and then it just comes, or you meditate on it? How is that process?
Well, to be honest, and I learned in school that most of what you read, the author wrote about something he or she had actually experienced. If
Yeah.
it wasn't their experience, it was something that somebody very close to them experienced. And so when I say I have 5 children's books, 4 of them are truly my stories. One of them, BJ's Big Dream, is about my son and a process that he went through achieving a dream that he had. But even Oh to Be a Bulldog, even though it's about a little boy, that was me because I'll never forget when my parents first took my sisters and me to South Carolina State University, and what I wrote about in the book are the things that stood out most from that homecoming and made it memorable. And every time I've gone back, though, those memories resurface, but it's kind of, and I won't say that the homecoming stagnant, please don't think that that's what I'm saying, but there are just so many traditions that still remain today. The school and the alumni, the students, they do a good job of just, making sure that some things never stop. And
Wow.
it's, the homecomings have grown with more activities. And of course, they do more to attract the younger students because, times have changed and they try to be, change with it. But then there are just some things that stay the same and just never change. And they shouldn't. They stay the same for good reason. So I would say everything that I have is based on experiences so far. But I did come out of my shell some like from June until about the first part of October. I always wanted to write a chapter book, and I wanted to write a chapter book for middle school students because my 5 children's books, children have read them, and then parents are saying, what do you have for older children, even
Mhm.
the 5th graders who read chapter books and not picture books? And I always feel badly when somebody's asking for something that I don't have. Well, I didn't necessarily have a story from middle school that I thought middle school students would really gravitate to. So that's like the biggest fictional account that I've had to do. And it was fun being able to, create it and make it up. But I did have to do a lot of research just to see, well, what really is cool? What do middle schoolers do now? Because I can't assume that it's like it was when I went a long time ago. So I really was able to, with that book, see what, what authors really feel when they have to keep creating content. Like, you've used a lot of what you already have, and so now it's time to get some new stuff. So, but
Wow.
I truly enjoyed that because it was a challenge. It was a real challenge, and I want challenges. I welcome challenges.
Wow. Well, that is totally awesome. I used to teach middle school social studies before I became like an administrator. So I truly get it. To engage middle school is a different world totally because
Yeah, yeah, it truly is. It
I
truly.
love them, but it's a different nature. Like they want to be babies, but they still want to be feel like they're older. So,
Exactly, exactly.
but I love them. I love that age group, but they're unique in their own way.
Well, another part of the answer to that last question too is the anthology that I'm working on right now with about 12 contributors. One of my friends from my hometown came up with the idea. She runs a nonprofit, and she said, with everything that's going on, it would be awesome to get boy moms together and let them all share their stories, because, it's unfortunate that sometimes uh, people downplay the love that people have for their children. And I think,
They do.
yeah, and right now with what's going on with the violence and Black males in particular, we thought this would be an opportunity to lift up and inspire our sons, but also the sons of anybody who reads the book. And so that's our goal. But this wasn't my idea, or it didn't come to me. It came to my friend with the nonprofit. So I took it home and I prayed about it. And sure enough, my spirit lined up with hers. And so we took it on as a project to work on together. So this will be the first time that I'm actually doing a project that wasn't, something that initially came to me. But, like I said, I'm receptive. I prayed about it. It lines up with my spirit, and I'm very blessed by it. I'm excited about it. And we should be launching this anthology on November 28th. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So,
Wow. Well,
yeah.
that is amazing. You are extremely busy and extremely. I'm like, oh my goodness, how does she keep up day to day? Every day you have uh,
Thank
something coming up where you're doing something, and really important is that you have God in your business. Um,
Yes.
and every decision that you have made and every answer or response that you have given me when I asked you about your business, you was like, I seek God first, you know. So there's no question about your faith or where your help come from. And that is, that's something that as business owners and people don't get. They're like, well, why is she so successful? She has God in it.
Yes. Look,
You
I have to go to Mary, the God in me. It's like
Mhm.
what they don't see is how she hits her knees, when she's behind closed doors. And even the title, or the name, people are like, I'm amazed at how many people don't know what or who Hadassah is. Now, the pronunciation, I've heard some people say Hadassah, some people say Hadassah, but she's Queen Esther from the Bible. And she was someone who was able to help her people. And so that was how I chose that name, because it was very significant. I've always loved her and thought that she was a heroine. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. I prayed about the name of it, and her name just quickly dropped in my spirit. And I chose her original name, not the name that she changed, the Esther that her name was changed to, so that she could pretty much pass when she was aspiring to get to the palace. I wanted the original, who she really was. And so that's who Queen Hadassah is.
Oh no, I knew it. I mean, my parents kept us in Sunday school.
Awesome, awesome.
So I was like, I know that name. I know that name.
Well,
So
good.
I'm just
You
glad
did
you gave,
it.
I'm glad you gave the story behind it because I know some people they, like, oh, that's creative. Where'd she get that name from? But
Uh-huh.
I rather them hear it from you. But like I said, they kept us. Oh my goodness,
That's
we did parking lot ministry after church. If you know,
That's that's awesome. But without your saying, I could tell that about you because that's why you do what you do. It's been instilled in you. And when it has been, you really have a heart for ministry and to help others. And that you would lead a nonprofit, is no surprise.
Thank you. It's to God be the glory because it is
And
truly not me.
amen. I understand.
Truly, truly not me. Some stuff come across and I'm like, I know this is nobody but God because I have no clue what I have gotten myself into. So he guides my steps even with me. And so to meet a person that's established as yourself, with the publishing company, with book awards, I'm like, goodness, I said her professional thing is no joke. And she want to talk to me.
Well,
So
I'm humbled and honored that you would call. I really am. I mean, I feel the same way that, you picked me out of all of the different authors and people that you could have been interviewing today. So I'm honored. I greatly appreciate you.
yeah. So do you have like any final thoughts or something that you could words of encouragement? You've been so encouraging the whole time. I'm like all
Well,
the nuggets that you done said and dropped in my spirit. I've been taking little notes here and there, like, wait a minute, I need that for me. Even though I know we're helping other people, but you help me a lot.
to your students, I would just like to say my logo or motto is publishing excellence with integrity.
Oh
And
wow.
those two words are extremely important. I don't care what you decide to do. If you decide to, keep up golf courses or whether you decide to, open a Wendy's, it doesn't matter. Excellence, do it with to the very best of your ability, and then always have integrity. Always make sure you're treating people the way you want to be treated. So that's
Yeah.
my advice to your youth. And I just encourage you to read all you can, get all you can, do all you can, be the best self that you can possibly be. And to you, Miss Robinson, I just say keep doing the great things that you're doing. I have had a chance to go up and down your Facebook page and look at your social media, your social footprint that's out there, and I just see greatness. And I know that it's going to continue to come. And I can just, prophetically say that because of your faithfulness and your willingness to serve others, God is going to continue to pour into and bless you. He is. And I would like to say to anyone who's listening, if you have a story, if you're interested in publishing, you can contact me. I'm just one of millions of publishers. If you have a story that is going to help someone else, please don't take it to the graveyard. Share it in some capacity. Even if you leave it in a journal where someone can find it after you're gone, at least it's not buried in the graveyard with you. Everybody won't publish. Everybody. Some people just feel like, wow, don't put your business out there like that. But we truly go through things so that we can help somebody else. A lot of times the trials and the tribulations that we go through, it's not even about us. It's not even for us, but it's for us, if we're truly Christians, to show other people how you get through it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I've been through some things. I have truly been through some things, but I can smile and I can say, but God, I'm on the other side of it. And just like I got through, he'll get you through. And I don't know what else I might have to go through on this earth, but I do know who I have and who's on the throne and who I look forward to, seeing me through. And I just encourage you to encourage someone else as a result of what you may have been through. And I'm going to stop because I'm starting to preach.
No, that's okay. It's welcome. This is, I mean, I tell people when I invite them on, be yourself, and you never know who your words are encouraging. And the last 2 weeks and the people who I have had on here have been dropping nuggets in my spirit. And so if you feel moved to say what's on your heart, because I know your words are coming directly directly from the source. So
Wow. Well, that's amazing. But again, that's already showing you how you're doing this for your students and, for your stakeholders, as well as, the audience and people who are listening. but then you're going to be blessed, and you're already blessed, like you said, from the people that you've had on who have, spoken into your ministry and spoken words over you. So it's just a great example.
Well, I truly, truly, truly appreciate you, Dr. Cunningham. Oh God, don't make me mess up your name, Leverette.
Yes,
I truly appreciate you, the nuggets that you have dropped. I've learned more about you, even though I was doing my research as well. And from A Better Chance for Youth Futures Incorporated, we really appreciate you. And if anything we can do, maybe you need to post your books or anything on our site. You are more than welcome to. You have our support.
awesome, awesome. Well, I will be following you and supporting you as well. And thank you again. This has been wonderful. I have greatly appreciated, spending this time with you this evening.
Yes, I have too. We might have to do this again, or just have you on when you come out with your anthology. I think that'll be good.
That would be awesome. I'll be available and I'll be back. That would be amazing.
Yes, that would be awesome. So, if you do wish to watch the replay of this, it will be on YouTube. Thank you for joining us this Sunday for our Let's Talk About It. Next week, we will have our Youth Entrepreneur Week, and that will be a young entrepreneur who is an artist. Please, please support our youth. If you see her work, you probably won't think that she's a young person, but she is actually a preteen, but her work looks like she's an adult. So we look forward to seeing you all next week. Again, thank you, Dr. Cunningham Leverett, for joining us this week. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Many blessings to you.